We have a very esteemed panel with us today, and I would like to introduce all of them to you. I begin with Addy Ho, Segment Development, Manager Retail, APAC, Access Communication. Colonel Ambuj Sharma, Head Security, Loss and Prevention, North, Reliance Jio. Kunal Mehta, Group CTO, Fabindia Overseas Private Limited. Manoj Patel, Deputy CIO, House of Anita Dongre Limited. Neilmani Sahu, Head IT, Kaya Limited. Rajgopal Nayak, CTO, Metro Brands Limited. Sujoy Mitra, Head Business Technology, Hometown, Praxis Home Retail. And the moderator for the day, Arihant Garg, Partner, Digital Practice, KPMG India. Before we move on to the panel discussion of the day, I would like to invite Addy Ho, Segment Development Manager Retail APAC, Access Communications, to share his insights on the topic through a presentation. Over to you, Addy.
Okay. Is my screen shared now? Hello?
No.
No,
not yet.
Sorry.
No.
Hang on.
No, Addy, I think you'll have to share your screen.
Can I request somebody to change my name because it's giving me a default name?
Okay.
This is Neil here, Neilmani Sahu.
Sure, Neilmani, we'll say change your name.
Thank you. How do you hear this?
So it's sharing now?
Yeah, it's on. Addy, it's on.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the greatest virtual seminar of all time. I will begin by thanking Retail Association of India on behalf of the Access India team for the invitation to participate in the discussion of safe retailing, maximize revenue, and minimize cost. My name is Addy Ho, the Retail Segment Manager, Development Manager, and it is my pleasure to be presenting today. I believe you will agree that retail is a very complicated business that requires prompt reactions. It's hard to explain everything about safe retail in 15 minutes. So I would prefer to share a real case that are designed for a shopping mall in Hong Kong to optimize their security and operations measure, increase sales revenue, and measure successfulness of their marketing campaign with Access Solutions. Here is the 7-story shopping mall with pet theme. You can see basement is the relaxed and hot tub area that customer can enjoy with their pets. Lower ground floor, LG, is the supermarket focused on pet foods and pet merchandise. Ground floor is the general entrance with a cafeteria. Upper ground floor, UG, is the shop level. First floor is the cat level with coffee shops. Second floor is the dog level with grooming area, pet hotel, and clinic. Third floor is the party room, restaurant, and pet travel agencies. The customer told us they want to provide a safe and highly efficient environment for their customer. They also want to collect customer data to refine their PR and marketing campaign. With these requirements, we designed the system from 3 perspectives: security, operational efficiency, and business analytics. In addition to basic surveillance system, when we consider security measure, we will also consider access control, blacklist personnel detection, loitering prevention, tailgating prevention as well. This mall is 100% covered by Access CCTV and Access centralized video management system called Access Camera Station. With this powerful searchability of Access Camera Station, customer is able to find out all respective video footages easily. As you can see, LG and UG is a supermarket and shop area respectively. Customer is very concerned on in-store shrink management. Here, different shrink prevention systems are implemented. For example, a blacklist system was installed. When a blacklisted or unwelcome personnel is identified, the system will automatically send an alert to the security manager's cell phone with the person's picture, time, and location. A special attention will be paid to this person. Indeed, the database of unwelcome personnel is centrally stored in their headquarters and synchronized to each store every night. Nowadays, shoplifters and organized crime ring are very smart. They know where the cameras are installed and how to avoid the criminal actions being recorded. Thus, supermarket is also covered with access pinhole camera to capture these criminal activities where shoplifters doesn't know. There are 6 self-checkout kiosks in the supermarket. To minimize shrinkage here, a service attendant is assigned in this area. A security scale in the backing area of the kiosk with access camera is installed. When an item is added to the backing area without being scanned, an alert will be triggered to both the customer and the attendant. This will help deterring the intentional or accidental theft. Video will be captured as evidence and the customer's face will be recorded for further analysis. In case the same face occur in multiple incidents, this face will be stored in the unwelcome database and security managers will take extra attention when the people come again. To avoid loitering and smoking in the backdoor area, access loitering guard are installed. This is when the camera finds the person who stay in the back door for over 30 seconds or a minute, which is abnormal, right? The camera will trigger a pre-recorded message to the access speaker asking the person to leave the back door. In the same time, security manager will receive an alert with relevant video. The security manager will then take appropriate actions. To avoid sweethearting, that is internal fraud in cashier counter, customer implemented exception-based reporting, the EBR system in POS, and linked to access camera stations, the VMS. Of course, all video footage are stamped with time. The EBS will also store voucher and invoice information and stamp to access video footage for easy reference. When managing the shopping mall's daily operation, one of their key concerns is making sure fire exits and evacuation routes are not blocked. In addition to basic fire alarm system, customer also wants to better utilize the mall's public address system. To address this, customer deployed a video analytics system developed by Access called Exit Blocking Detection System. The system will keep monitor all fire exits and evacuation route. When system detects there is anything blocking the route or exit, an alert together with the picture will be sent to the operation team to remove the block immediately. Control center will be able to watch the video footage and find out who left the block. Access IP audio system is installed in the mall for the public address and playing background music. The audio system is also connected to the mall's fire alarm system. When the fire alarm is triggered, the PA system will broadcast the evacuation message to a particular zone of the mall or the entire mall. Effective staffing is another operation concern from customer. They want to optimize their staff duty in different shifts because hiring good people is not easy. They have a standard ratio of staff to visitor. Thus, they need to know the number of visitors in different hours of the day and different day of the week in order to have a good planning of duty roster. We install people counter at the entrances of ground floor to capture the number of visitors per hour per day. Customer is able to plan duty roster effectively with this data. In addition, the customer also needs a very flexible public address system for the mall. As you remember, different floor in the mall has different theme. So they sometimes need to play different background music or messages in different zones in the same time. They also need flexible zoning capability that they can adjust the zone easily without rewiring or recabling. With traditional analog PA system, it is super difficult to have this high degree of flexibility. Access IP audio system is very suitable in this requirement. All access speakers are IP-based. That is, only PoE cable is required. No RC cable is needed. It is centrally managed by Access Audio Manager, a software to manage the entire PA and background music system. Because the system is 100% IP-based, customer can adjust the song by dragging and dropping the speaker icon in the software without rewiring. Thus, different music or message can be played in different areas in the mall. This audio system not only provides the customer flexibility, but also significantly reduce the overall system installation and cabling cost compared to traditional PA system when amplifier is not required in access audio system. On business analytic part, customer will conduct different programs to boost in-mall sales and want to collect more customer information to measure the successfulness of their PR and marketing campaigns. First, they will conduct crazy sale every day for different items in certain hour with limited quantity in order to push sales. During the sale period, the promotion message will be broadcast with access audio system to selected zone in the mall, say the LG, the supermarket, and UG, the shop area, to push in-mall sale. It can be scheduled or ad hoc broadcasting. It also can be pre-recorded message or live menu broadcast. In addition to people counter, the access camera is able to capture demographic information of visitors when they enter the mall. Heat map system is also installed in LG, supermarket, and UG shop area. With demographic information and people counting information, my customer can measure the successfulness of their marketing campaign, whether or not the right set of people are targeted. Of course, you will also need to correlate this data with your POS system to check the conversion rate of your campaign. Heat map tells you where most visitors visit and stay in the mall. In shop area, heat map tells the mall owner which shops have the most traffic. This is very important for the mall owner to know whether they have a correct mix of tenants, and also very important when negotiating new tenancy agreement. In LG supermarket, my customer can correlate the heat map data with the POS data to find out the best seller, so that they can rearrange the merchandise position or price adjustment in order to increase the revenue per basket. This is just a few systems installed in this mall. They also implemented access tailgating system for their back office, access queue management system, and rodent detection system. I can share more information with you in future. I want to highlight here that the reason why customers use complete access system is not because we are the lowest offer. We have never been. It is because access offers integrated platform of camera, audio, and video analytics that solve the customer's security and operation problems. Customer is paying extra money for features that they don't need. The other reason why Access is chosen is Access has a high degree of cybersecurity. Unlike other friendly competitors, Access supports both software and hardware features to enhance cybersecurity. Access provides signed firmware and secure boot feature to make sure our device only boot up with Access firmware. From hardware side, Access include Access Edge Vault and Trusted Platform Model, TPM, to ensure secure storage of all the keys and certificates. This meets the requirements of FIPS 140-2 Security Level 2, which is a very high standard of cybersecurity. Here is a summary. This mall has used a complete access solution to well protect its premises and effective operation. That includes cameras, speakers, video management systems, audio PA systems, video analytics as well. If you can only take one thing away from this presentation, I would wish you to remember that camera is not just a camera. It can do more than security and surveillance. Please allow me to give you more information about Axis. Axis is a Swedish company with headquarters in Lund, Sweden. Our India headquarters is in Bangalore, and we have offices in Delhi and Mumbai. We invented the world's first IP camera in 1996 and continue to be the leader in this sector. Axis has different types and classes of cameras hardware, such as the most retail-friendly Zoom camera, pinhole camera, all-in-one NVR with VMS, outdoor box camera, as well as IP speakers. We consider our devices are IoT devices because they can talk to each other and trigger any event without going back to the server. We thank to our edge technology and our network protocol that analytics and actions is done on the device, not on the server. That is, the camera and the system can still function even when the network is down. Should you want to know more about Axis, such as our unique technology, our solutions and services, please feel free to contact my team in India. Sujoy Sebastian is our retail expert in India. You can contact Sujoy by calling his cell phone or emailing him. I'm sure Sujoy will be happy to support you and answer your questions. Thank you. Back to you, Arihant.
Thanks, Addy. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the panel discussion on safe retailing, maximize revenue, and minimize loss. I will essentially, start with Mr. Rajgopal Nayak from Metro. How is social commerce, WhatsApp, chat, social media channels being utilized by your business to curate content and shopping cart experiences?
Hi, good afternoon to everybody, and especially people from the audience who tuned in today. And we appreciate you coming here to listen to us. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Arihant, to answer your question, social commerce has been a rising trend over the last few years. We do engage with social media channels and leverage performance marketing tools today to drive sales, incidentally, both for offline and online channels. Now, during the course of the last year, as with nearly all retail companies, I suppose, the smart marketing spends have shifted from offline to an online and social media spends for us. Today, we leverage Instagram and Google ads in this area. We also actively follow up on abandoned carts on our e-commerce websites. We have 2 of them, and both from a conversion point of view and also, more importantly, from a learning point of view, to see how we can improve the metrics out there. Right. Specifically to your question on WhatsApp as a channel, one has seen a lot of organizations adopt it. Incidentally, I'm also very happy to inform you that this week itself, we launched our WhatsApp chatbot called MIA, M-I-I-A, Metro Interactive and Intelligent Assistant. One can access the same from our e-commerce website, www.metroshoes.net, or just open up WhatsApp and send a hi to the following India number, 992020-0099. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rajgopal. In fact, I would also like to ask Neilmani Sahu. He comes from Kaya, which has got a lot of healthcare element to it. So, how are you using social commerce in your business?
Very good evening to everyone. So while our colleague, Mr. Rajgopal, he talked about how's the industry doing and how things are being done at Metro, I will take a technology angle. So the way the consumer buying behavior have changed, right from the days we used to do shopping from our mom and pop stores, where there was no digital, zero digital, with a chit of paper and trust. You start your purchase with your mom and pop store, to an organized retail, and then comes e-commerce. And where e-commerce also, the challenges that we see is normally the discovery happens in the e-commerce environment, and post discovery the sales actually takes off at a website which is either a market place or a brand enabled website. But I think the transformation that's going to happen is through the social commerce, where actually the closed looping is happening. And in this closed looping, people are browsing. There is curated content because there's a group of like-minded people who are there with a common interest that they have within them. And these people are not only doing discovery, but then interacting and also doing the shopping there. So that's the transformation that we are going to see. And in Kaya also, through Instagram and through Facebook, we have a website integrated, and we are trying to give that experience in Kaya for our customers.
Thank you, Neilmani. I think that was very insightful. In fact, the next question is for Mr. Sujoy Mitra from Hometown. Given today's scenario, how important is it to improve in-store performance and optimize store layout? Can you give a few examples of how you are improving store performance? Sujoy, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. So thanks, Arihant. Thanks for pointing that out too. So if you look into the current dynamics overall, so with a plethora of digital options that's available to the customer, where you can go to marketplaces, you can go to those online stores. If you see a customer visiting a brick and mortar store, there are quite a few imperatives. One, it's got to be a serious customer. That's definitely there. Two, the pandemic has also forced us or put us in a position wherein while you might see a lot of footprint online, but when a customer decides to purchase, and if you have to come down to things like furniture retail, which is a very high engagement purchase, then while the research can be online, if you're planning to visit the store, the engagement time that the store staffs or you as a customer would have at the store is fairly limited now. You would like to close the decision as soon as possible. So now that makes it imperative to improve either the layouts or the store performance. Now, how is it done? Okay, so multiple ways. One is like our fellow panelists were actually pointing out, wherein you already have everybody has started collecting data as to carts that are the dropped off carts, abandoned cart information. Question is, how do you connect that to the entire journey wherein the customer visits the store? That's the omnichannel journey, and that's something that we have put together very strong. Okay, so whether you visit, so as a customer, if you visit hometown.in and you log in, you add products to the cart, you visit the store, and our store staffs would be able to trace you and understand the abandoned cart details too. Point number one. Point number two is, while that bit is about the initial engagement, planogramming is fairly I think a fairly common principle. I would say it's given now. Okay, and one way to look at planogramming, the basic way to look at planogramming is put together a store layout and forget about it. Okay, and optimize it based on visual merchandising, whatever you want to implement. The other way, and that's the right way to look at it, is merge that data with associative analysis, okay, market basket analysis, and that's how you create the mix. That's how you create, and that's fairly. I mean that's something. I mean, multiple retailers look at it that way. Now, add to that when you put in, like Addy was pointing out, so sensors play a fairly. I mean, they have started playing a role in this in this entire mix of store layouts. So whether it is a video analytics based sensor or whether it is a mobile sensor, doesn't matter. The idea is to figure out the hotspots, and then you optimize the store layout. Of course, there are two ways, and I keep telling there are two ways of looking at this at this particular at this facet. Now, the two facets of looking at this context is, one way is you look into your hotspot and you optimize your store layout. But you might also look at it the other way. You might say, given your product placement and given your promotions, wasn't it supposed to happen this way? Okay, so that question mark always remains. Okay, so hotspot just confirms what your initial hypothesis was, right? While what your initial product placement was. Yeah.
I think, Sujoy, that was in fact, we learn a lot from all of your experiences. Next one, in fact, it's more a question of where the capex and the opex model essentially is going. The question is for you, Kunal. So while designing a retail project, and most of these days, do retailers always look at capex, or the trend is moving more towards an opex model?
I think it's more of a strategic discussion nowadays. I think probably if you asked me this question 2 years back, a lot of organizations would want to go the capex way because they were more clear about the store openings and how much to invest in a store, try and take more chances about the kind of formats you want to open. Do you want to try new things within the store in terms of technology, or in terms of the store layout, or the kind of fixtures that you're using in the store, right? And that's where probably the capex model really worked. Cut 2020 and the world changed, and with that, the perception towards store openings, the perception towards how you invest in technologies or anything that you do within an organization has changed drastically. It's very difficult now for an organization, except if you're really making a very big change, and that's got a substantial impact in terms of how you're driving the business. If you're taking smaller bets and if you're trying new things, I think the model has moved towards the OPEX now, where you quickly learn, you partner with different vendors, or collaborations that happen across with the engagements on the mall side or anything like that, and it's gone into the OPEX model where you want to learn, you want to try, probably fall quickly, learn quickly, or get easy wins over there, and then see how it's going to work, right? And then you take a larger call in terms of whether I make this as a long-term investment or I cut my losses and I move on very quickly. So definitely the whole COVID era has changed the way organizations look at investments, look at resources, and it's become about cutting down your losses to a certain extent in terms of the risks that you take, right? So you kind of breaking down your risks with your partners and with your vendors, and seeing what's the best way to go ahead with it. And then if there is merit, obviously you can always go back and make the right set of investments.
Perfect, Kunal. Well, in fact, the next set of discussion. See, we discussed a lot about the technology. I think another topic which is very, very important with technology is essentially on the cyber security. So the next question is to you, Manoj, from the house of Anita, Dongre. With regards to cyber security, how could I ensure that my business data and customer data are not exposed and they are actually in the safe hands?
Basically, in the retail, the basic security, cyber security is taken care by putting proper antivirus software, which is enabling with DLP, email encryptions, so that whatever data is there with you, or within your organization doesn't go out from the organization. Secondly, on the front end also, there is a lot of data which comes on real time, that is on the customer data, which is very, very crucial. So putting all this particular safety point of view, so we put all the locks in the system in terms of locking of your pen drive, your external whatever device access, everything is on. So basic hygienic things are taken care in the retail front of end, because it's not put on the, like we are not into that banking sector where, you know, which everything has a lot of OTPs and all, because at certain times you have to keep certain system open to be more flexible, because customer comes first when you're doing the billing and all that stuff. So basic things like DLP and everything has been enabled to keep the data secure.
Sure. Thanks, Manoj. In fact, the next question is to Mr. Rajgopal. See, for cyber, you know, spending, there is always a conflict that, you know, you have at the budgeting stage. So from a technology spend, should I invest on to essentially technologies that essentially help the organization take forward and, let's say, generate more revenue? Or should you invest more on the cybersecurity side? That's a typical debate that you see in a lot of organization and the management meetings. How do you deal with it?
So, Arihant, thank you for directing the question to me. It's in a way, it's a chicken and egg item, like you mentioned. But what is important is to highlight to the management the risks involved in case there is a cyber breach. You know, highlighting the kind of reputational risk that happens, given that more and more we are looking at e-commerce as a growth driver. And if you can't secure your digital assets to begin with, why should a customer believe or trust that their data is his or her data is safe with you as an organization? That is the first point. Secondly, um, one way to ensure that you as an organization give adequate focus to cybersecurity and get the funds for that, in my opinion, is to first go in, and I would recommend most of the organizations to do that, to go in either for cyber liability insurance or a cyber crime insurance. Two things happens once you do that. Taking insurance is something that management understands, right? But the good part about it is, when you take, as just like a health insurance, when you take an insurance, there are certain claims that you're supposed to make, that this is our current cyber security posture that is there. And lo and behold, this insurance company will hold you to it whenever you make a claim in the future. So what that means is it automatically drives discipline. And to ensure that discipline, if one requires funds, you get the funds for the same. I mean, using a traditional antivirus, for example, no longer cuts the ice today. Okay, you need to have an EDR in place. You need to have SIEM source solutions, a managed SOC in place, right? And with respect to data, which is becoming more and more important, the approach over here, according to me, the first step, so the basic hygiene is to do a data classification exercise within the organization. Once you do that, okay, it is much easier to identify the kind of technologies, the kind of remediations, and the kind of prevention measures that one wants to put in place. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure, Mr. Rajgopal. In fact, one of the interesting dilemma that we have, and this question essentially is for you, Sujoy. In a typical enterprise setup, you have a lot of applications these days, and a lot of actually data exchange happens to those applications. So how do you set up, how critical would be to set up, let's say, a security elements in all the applications, and how do you essentially, let's say, look at a secure data exchange between the applications? Sujoy, you are on mute.
Okay, sorry. Fairly relevant question, especially these days, because APIs have become fairly commonplace, and that has become the chosen method in which applications talk to each other these days, and since quite some time now. So, I mean, this level of security is put in multiple ways. Okay, the basic and standard ways is to secure the endpoints. Okay, now of course. It comes with viewpoints. So you might have, one is you might put the entire setup as part of a private cloud, and then you are controlling. So all you need to do is put together the perimeter security in place to ensure that itself is not breached. Okay? Now, many times that's not feasible, because that also needs a fair bit of investments. It also has its own operational challenges. So then you go into a hybrid scenario. Okay, when you have certain applications which are in your data centers while others are in the public cloud. Now, there too, it all begins with securing your endpoints, whether you put in multiple security measures, whether it is, I mean, and the strictest measures can be VPN-based access and so on and so forth, which many times we don't put. Now, if not, then the question is, you look at multiple others, as in other than securing the endpoints, multiple others. You secure the entire traffic. Okay, so the entire the data exchange. So whether be it through encryption, encode the data. Okay, you do that. The third bit of it is looking into fairly common means of breaches and preventing them. The cross-site scripting and the SQL injections of the world. Okay, and that's where detailed elements with respect to how do you, and that's where the programming aspects come into play. That's where you put together a standard set of security parameters that your code will go through. No matter whatever is your go-to-market strategy, and you ensure that level of testing is definitely done before you release it. Okay, and there are multiple ways of doing it. You can put together content types. You can parameterize them. You can actually keep checking for every input. You can always keep checking. So you can do all of that. So I guess that fairly covers. You would never come down to 100% secure transaction. We are all learning in this entire process. I mean, it's many times it's trial and error, and you know there are breaches happening, and then you're covering the breaches. And when I say breaches happening, I'm talking of the industry per se. Okay, but the idea is to have the basics and as much of them as possible covered.
Perfect, Sujoy. And in fact, this was very, very detailed. In fact, a similar question to Neilmani. See, when you have a scenario where you are essentially using your own website and your own e-commerce engine, and then essentially you are also collaborating with other e-commerce websites, other e-commerce apps. How do you essentially balance cybersecurity? Because at some point in time, people believe that within your own parameter, it is usually easier to essentially manage. But these days they say that security doesn't have a parameter on its own. So how do you essentially look at that aspect now?
Okay, so so just as we have a physical asset. In a physical asset, what happens is the security of the physical asset is seen by human eyes. So the management of those assets are not that challenging. But when it comes to a digital asset like your data, so it becomes challenging because you can't see those assets. You don't know who's accessing and from where they are coming to. So to take care of these challenges, as I would agree with Sujoy that 100% things are not possible to take care of, but definitely the impact of not taking care of this digital asset is it could lead to loss in revenue, loss in the stakeholders' reputation is at stake. So in order to actually take care of a situation or a scenario like this, encryption of data is the basic hygiene that needs to be done. But along with that encryption, there are a lot of government frameworks which are available. So in Kaya, we are compliant with Information Security Act 2000, which is there. Subsequently, we have also got ourselves certified with ISO 27001. So this is basically an information security management system, and what it does is it gives you a framework, and that frameworks actually help you do a risk categorization of your asset. You see that what are the assets that are on high risk zone, and you start taking action on those assets. And in a way, this framework actually would help you to take control over things, because as we also agree in the panel saying that it's not possible 100%, but we are there in the journey. And I think the most awaited data protection bill is, draft is there already. And once that is cleared, again, I think a lot of things will also further be strengthened in terms of protecting those data.
No, absolutely. I think data protection would be a major compliance too, because a lot of customer data, employee data actually is being captured by a lot of retail organizations. So that would be one compliance to maintain. In fact, the next question is to our own in-house Fauji, Colonel Ambuj. So when we talk about some of the pain points with respect to in-store customer experience, shoplifting, checkout lines, peak shopping periods, what are your experiences in these areas?
Yeah, thanks. It's a very vast question, Arihant, but I'll just break it up before I get into the answer proper. We have learned along the way. When I say we, the retail people, and in that also, Reliance Retail per se. So I'll just give a very, very brief data. 10 years back, our shrink used to be about hovering around 2%, our own internal.
Right.
And currently, as per your own KPMG data that I went through, the global average is about 1.5.
1.5%. Yeah.
For retail, it may hover around 1.23 also. But the way we have managed our customer experience and also our internal shrink, Reliance Retail currently has, if you see in the value chain, is 0.36%. And overall, for the last financial year, we had 0.10. So that's where we have come from 2% to 0.10. Now, how do I do it? Do we do it? Firstly, before we reach the customer experience, our ethos and values have been built top down. They've been driven top down. Like you have first value is customer, then is integrity, then is one team, and so on and so forth when we build into that. And foremost is the ownership mindset for everyone who's there, that this store, I am not an employee, it belongs to me. Now, based on these values, what we did was our processes were built ground up. What happens on ground is the field, the person in store, whether he's selling, whether he's a security loss prevention guy, or our, you can say, loss prevention associate, or the security guards, anyone and everyone was involved. And as one team that I said, we built our processes based on what was the experience and integrated the security and loss prevention, not just as an overseer, as an integral part for entire value chain, right from when we purchase the material, when it comes to the store, when it's stored within the store or it's under transit, and till the time it leaves after being sold. So how do you do it? Like you said, India. In our country, every state, every city, there's some festival or the other throughout. So every month we have a festival, and weekends definitely, whether festival or not, because of how many we are. Weekends are especially, it's a every store is a hot store, so to say. Right. So rather than leaving just the sales part onto the people who are doing operations, and we looking after individually as the security, we looked at it holistically, wherein every day is an SLP day and everyone is an SLP. So that kind of mindset is what we are building into our stores. That not only is that salesperson into sales, he is also the security and loss prevention people's eyes and ears. That's one. Because human intelligence, human notice, the technology will never beat. Of course, the technology is there to support us, and Addy has adequately stressed on that, and speakers before me. So what we try to do is make a balance, or in each store have adequate technology in terms of monitoring, and superimpose that technology with our manual monitoring or physical monitoring, and vice versa. So wherever we see that there's a blind spot, we see that technology is costly. So every time you can't plug a hole through technology, and everything cannot be seen by the man himself. or herself. So what we do, we mix and match. Wherever we make use of technology, we always have a check by the physical monitoring. And where we are doing physical monitoring, we have a check by the technology. So now we have a full mesh. At the same time, now coming on to the moot question, the customer is God for everyone. Whether it's our shareholders, for SLP, customer is a person who's coming into our store to purchase something, and also the store team who are selling that stuff to the customer, to the person who's come. So rather than training each and every one in dealing with the customers, how we have done it, you cannot check everybody, because when customer comes to a store, whether it's a common man or it's a actual VIP, everybody is a VIP. Nobody wants to be checked at the gate. That's the biggest hassle, and that's where the technology plays up, that you have the electronic surveillance of articles, so you can check that. And also, depending on each and what Addy Ho brought out, the analytics. Analytics play a bigger part, which we don't do at ground level. So we have the mapping as to which zone, if I take it, say Delhi NCR, as to which zone has got high footfall and a lower strata customer, because that's how our stores are placed, and which area has got a high-end kind of a gentry, if I may put it economically that way. However, shrink remains more or less, everybody does it. We have, across the society, we have people who indulge in shoplifting, but the kind of articles which are going are different. And sometimes you got to just leave it that the loss prevention associate who's finally at the gate, who's checking the customer at the, after he's done the purchase and checkout lines, he does a cursory check. We know that somebody may have done it, somebody may have shoplifted. So that loss is taken so that customer experience doesn't suffer. But in order to learn from that, what we do is, the way the data is shared, I think it's common that we have those blacklisted people who come and who are perpetual shoplifters or who are perpetual grazers. Such kind of database is available all across stores, and as and when we have that friendly customer coming into our store, we keep an eye. But not that it's a proper policing that somebody keeps telling him or her. We let him be. He's monitored through the remote video monitoring.
Right.
And if we find something amiss, fine. If you don't find something amiss, I mean, the customer goes happy and we are also happy. So that's how we deal with this issue of balancing out how do we prevent shrink, as also the customer experience should not suffer while we are still learning the ropes, but that's how we keep at it. And I think the data says that we've done well so far. So back to you, Arihant.
Sure. In fact, Ambuj, another question more to do with ROI. If, are retailers really getting maximum out of surveillance solutions?
Yeah, it's quite an interesting question. You see, nobody will ever say that, yes, I am getting the max out of solutions, because everybody looks to the next one as to what can be automated. And especially for the security and loss prevention people, how much can the technology, or what all can the technology do for us? That's how it's a you can say the arrow and shield which has been going on, what Sujoy and others alluded to in the cyber domain. Similarly, it happens for the physical security also. The avenues or the means which are available in technology, I think they are being optimally exploited. But all of us, on day in and day out, we keep brainstorming as to how best can we, how better can we exploit what is already available, and what could be the next step. For example, in video monitoring, earlier video monitoring used to be only a physical monitoring. We had a central console where it was entire store, and in our case, like we have a we have a security operations center for Reliance Retail. So it mans all our facilities. Similarly, for Jio, we have a different network operations center where all our, like Jio, we have 276,000 plus sites. each and every site and all alarms events which are being generated are monitored 24/7, which is a humongous amount of data. But then what we are doing is, based on that data, the field team doesn't do the analytics. We give our requirement for the analytics as to this is what we want to see. And we have a specific team who do the analytics and dashboards for us. And they come back to us with those genuine results, which help the field team or the ground team in then plugging those loopholes or taking a course correction, learning from what data is telling us for enhancing our own operations and also the customer experience per se.
Yeah.
Like video monitoring earlier used to be used only somebody comes, Ambuj Sharma comes in, goes out. But now with the analytics and AI, we are able to see who are those perpetual offenders, which are the red lines which shouldn't be crossed. And if they cross, we get an event so that rather than a post-mortem, it can be prevented, because prevention is always what we are looking for. While our security and loss prevention comes at the last. Prevention is the most desirable outcome that we see from technology. And currently, whatever means are available, yes, they are being exploited. And more than that, with the AI, machine learning, and IoT, in our retail stores, even which are in far-flung, you can say rural areas, in villages and small towns, there also we have the security automated system based on IoT. So we are quite happy with the response that we get pan-India or pan-region. There is no delay in that. Our field team is able to monitor these stores while on the move on their mobile phones. That's another thing that we have done to exploit what is already available and keep or trying to keep pace with what the culprits can come up with. So that's how we are exploiting technology. And I think more is warranted, but the cost of the technology is what some you can purchase fine. Otherwise, we work from what we have. And when the technology becomes prevalent, of course, the cost goes down and everybody benefits. That's what we are working on. And in a step from here, you see, not very many would know, we have also tried to now exploit what the law enforcement agencies have. We are combining with them our own security and loss prevention team to help out the law enforcement agencies with our data as to what we see, and also integrate with them through their systems for catching hold of the culprits, especially in network sites where you can't really monitor it. That's a smart LEA communication. I'll put it in mildly in that way that we are working on. So that's the next level besides what the technology can do in-house for us. So back to you.
Yeah, I think just to add to what Ambuj said, I think what he spoke is more from the loss prevention perspective, but I think a lot of retailers like us have moved far ahead of that in terms of using the data beyond just regular offenders, right? You've been using the CCTV data to understand heat mapping within the store. Where's your customer moving within the store? Are we placing our goods in the right fashion? What are your fast moving items? Are you having the customers coming in into those areas? And that's also helping you define how your store layouts are, right? How your sales are. How do you look at where do you put your NOS items? Where should be your cash counter? Are we placing things in the right way and ensuring that we get the highest amount of ROI from the way the store is put up, right? So I think the use of the CCTVs and surveillance cameras have gone way beyond purely loss prevention to a lot of other things that retailers have started looking to generate more revenue, to look at how the store planning needs to happen, to look at how customers want to see the stores, etc. So retailers are also evolving on a regular basis in terms of using this data, in terms of capturing this data, and trying to see what's the best way of optimizing the space.
Yeah, actually, I agree with Kunal. I couldn't, in fact, agree with him more. And that's what I highlighted briefly, that depending on the video feeds and whatever surveillance data we get, within the area, within the zones, the store layout and what kind of material is stored in each store, that's actually being decided. And in fact, what has now come up as GeoMart, these were the path breakers who started out from the local kirana stores and giving them a standard layout and how best they can lay out so that the customer experience increases. And so does the revenue of that particular kirana store, from where now we have evolved into GeoMart. So absolutely.
Yeah. And I think there's a question on shrinkage use cases from the audience. I think, again, this is a part of what Ambuj already spoke about, right? So when you're catching your offenders, you're looking at shrinkage within the stores. I think these answers kind of get captured over there because they become a part of your store SOPs. How you define the kind of matrix under which the store manager works, the matrix under which you are capturing all this information and taking action against it. So I think it's this shrinkage is one of the common things for which you're putting all these cameras over there to make sure that you've got the right set of things happening within the store. So yeah, that use case is one of the starting points for putting CCTVs in the stores, right?
No, absolutely. In fact, the next question
that's to
is for our
both the external
technology
shrink and also the internal shrink.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No, I was in fact about to ask this to technology consultant Addy Ho. Why don't you give some examples of how technology is helping retail organizations in maximizing revenue and minimizing losses?
Okay, thank you. Well, actually, there are so many cases that technology can help in minimizing losses and maximizing revenue. Some of those, I'm so happy to understand to know that some analytics has been used in customer there in India, especially like the heat map and everything. One of the case that people can retailer can use technology to increase revenue is what I term is the integrated target sales boost. It's actually a combination of video analytic, digital signage. When a customer approach a kiosk, the camera will identify its demographic information, whether, for example, a man of age of 50s with a smiley face. Then the system can then push an advertisement of beer to the signage and have him to push the sales for beer. And in the same time, there's the correlation to put beer close to a particular area where men goes, right? So these are the things that nitty-gritty things that the technology can help. There is an example there in a real case here in Hong Kong that, as you know, retailer hate smokes, right? Especially supermarket. For example, a pack of rice is bitten by mouse. Then the pack of rice need to be written off, right? That goes, you cannot sell it. Okay, so it's a cost, it's a loss. However, mouse are too smart to catch. My customer in Hong Kong implemented a rodent detection system developed by my partner. Mouse has a habit. It will come out for food at the same time every day and follow the same path. With access camera installed and the rodent detection system can tell my customer where the mouse stay, where they come out for when they come out for food, and their usual path. It will help my customer to trap the mouse effectively. So it's kind of using technology in a different way. I have another example here is a very simple example of using technology, like the analytic, right? I have a apparel retail using access camera. The shop closed at 9 p.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning at the next day. There should be no people in the shop during this period, right? I told my customer to deploy the access motion detection system, right? Which come free with access camera. You don't need to pay extra money for that. Whenever it detects any motion during night 10 the next day, it is a possible break-in. Then an alert, an alarm will be triggered and sent to the shop manager or the owner. So it's simple as that. So you don't need to pay extra money. You have your camera installed, and you just need to install one more application into your camera. Then you have peace of mind, and that is it. Back to you, Arihant.
Thank you, Addy. In fact, a very, very interesting and relevant question with respect to cybersecurity. Jay, if you want to take it, can cybersecurity coexist with WhatsApp and Excel in the organization? You have to unmute.
Sorry. So yeah, I mean it can, but it's just that there is a trade-off. I mean there are multiple mobile device management solutions, AirWatches of the world, which actually helps in securing the data in all the digital devices that you are basically using. Okay. So, but yeah, I mean it creates a little bit of, I would say, inconvenience. Having said that, it increases data security. So yeah, the answer is possible.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot for the discussion. In fact, it was very, very helpful where we discussed a lot about, the social commerce being used widely today, especially in the post-pandemic world, and, a lot of data analytics and other technologies like IoT, sensors, video analytics being used, a lot of data analytics being done on associative analytics, market basket, dropped cards, in fact, a lot of people using. And then essentially cybersecurity coming as a key element in terms of how do you essentially secure these technologies and how do you essentially make the entire environment more secure, more for a customer perspective as well as for the entire organization perspective. And very, very interesting discussion on the shrink side by, Colonel Ambuj and Kunal Mehta, where we essentially looked at, how do you essentially control shrink, where you look at, ethos and values in the organization, and then essentially work on both the processes and the technology. And an important side from Colonel Ambuj on, the relationship between, salespeople and the loss prevention. In fact, make the salespeople the flag bearers of loss prevention. And that's the culture essentially helps the organization and, helping on the loss prevention side. Thank you. Thanks a lot, everyone, for the discussion.
Thanks, Arihant, for moderating the session. And it's always good to meet old faces like Sujoy and Manoj. I think it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Not met offline, but
yeah.
Good to see you guys. Good to see everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
And thanks everyone for your inputs.
Thanks.
And for me, it's the first time, but then yes, it has been a very, very memorable kind of a session, listening to you all and what all experience we have.